My name is Hitbrain. I am joined by Gorborg as we're getting ready to go into the latter half here of Group C. Gorborg, so far there's been a fair few upsets, I think it's fair to say. I mean, that last game especially. If we just bring up the standings, we can do a quick refresher of where we are right now on the day. UCAM are locked into first. They are 5-0. They are only playing for Pride later on in the day. Then Illuminar 2-2, Matchco 1-3, and MOUZ 1-4 right now. There are still scenarios where MOUZ and Matchco can make it out of the group, but some things have to go right for them out of their hands, as well as them also performing well.
And that's the thing, like, this day just became a lot more interesting with the Matchco win as well, because they have to essentially win all their games today if they want to make it back. Next game we will be having is obviously going to be that Illuminar versus MOUZ, and they've already played against each other before. Back then it was actually Illuminar that took the whole game, but it was not a clean one. It was a back and forth a lot. I think it went to around 40 minutes in game. We had 9 Drakes be taken, no, yeah, like 6-7 Drakes be taken, multiple Barons, and beautiful steals to come out, as well as we see here from Pridestalkr, keeping them in the game, but essentially they were not able to keep the ball rolling, and they just decided to take some unfavorable fights that in turn resulted in them not winning the game, and Illuminar picking up a nice win. So today I think it can still go anyone's way. I don't think any one of them has been is especially consistent, and I think it's going to come down to a lot of skill checking and a lot of team fights in the late game.
I mean, that's the MOUZ style, right? They love to skill check people. I do feel like as of this EU Masters, not previous ones, it has been, MOUZ skill check, your leader's completely like taken over his lane. But this EU Masters feels very different. This version of MOUZ is they're struggling. I think there's no real other way around it. They've not performed to the level we expected from the names on this team. I mean, you got Pridestalkr, you got Leader, 2 names that instantly jump out to you as this mid jungle duo, and it's not like they've not been playing the MOUZ style. They have picked things like the Sylas, they've picked things like the Akali, they've picked aggressive mid laners, and Leader just hasn't been able to pilot them to be able to take over the game. We're heading into Champ Select now. Remember, if MOUZ lose this, that's it. They can't make it out. That's it, donezo, because they physically won't be able to catch Illuminar. This is their last game of the group. If MOUZ win this, it's then in the hands of some other teams. Illuminar have to lose their next game as well for them to be able to catch up. It gets very dicey on the catch up here, but it's not technically over yet. But for now, we are having the bans going off as the Seraphine and the Aurelia have been taken away.
Yeah, and I think my main issue with MOUZ has been that I still see 5 individually talented players on this roster, and they all have their moments where they actually shine. But the problem for me has been that they're not always able to work as one cohesive unit. It feels like one player is out to steal the whole show, whereas I think if they put the eggs in one basket and officially try to play for that guy, it may have helped them out better. And I think especially Pridestalkr, I think you have a lot of laners here where they excel a lot of pressure in the laning phase. I want to see them put down to Pridestalkr. I want to see him get the leads and then in turn get the laners the leads afterwards, because MOUZ, they've not been very good at getting a gold lead in the early game. They play a very pressurized gameplay, but often they go too far forward, and that is just ending up costing them a lot of gold and leads, where it's kind of like the games go quite long for MOUZ. And reason why that is because they still play a well late game. It's just that in the late game, all they're trying to do is get back from the lead they threw in the early game.
Yeah, that's why their games are extending so long. Illuminar, on the other hand, like to play it slow and steady. Even when they're up in goal, which typically they are, they do play it a little bit more slowly. Now, we've had the Hecarim banned away, so I kind of expected to see the Udyr ban, but the Nocturne is actually going to get taken away by Illuminar, meaning that Pridestalkr is going to get his hands onto this Udyr as the first rotation for MOUZ. Now Illuminar looking to pick up something to answer out into this. You've still got things like the Lillia, which is typically another kind of power farming jungler that gets taken away, but the Tristana also been left open, so that's going to get picked up by the side of Illuminar.
Yeah, and crucially so, Thresh is still up and available if you want to pair that as a deadly bot lane duo. You don't have to pick your jungler yet, you can still wait, but there is the Lillia. That does now put a bit of pressure onto the side of MOUZ, because they can have the Lillia, or not the Lillia, but the Thresh available to them, which we have Sudu do really well in the Tristana matchup. Jinx is also up, so a Jinx Thresh rotation here would also be insanely good. So there's a lot of options available for MOUZ here, and I don't really want to see them show too many of their cards for the solo laners. We know they're playing a huge driving factor in their games as well, so it'd be nice if they could at least get one counter pick on that side. But it is actually going to end up being the Kai'Sa Tristana matchup, a matchup that can go either way. It's a matchup where both AD carries have times in the game where they are ahead. In the level 1, you can get the isolated Q from Kai'Sa to kind of take over the game before Tristana can get a full charge bomb on you. But then when you get to those level 2 and 3, well, Tristana start being a menace in that laning phase as well. So we're looking at small windows for both AD carries to perform already in the matchup, and it could be looking like that they're going to be picking it up with the Nautilus, which could be good if they want to pick Thresh as well. So you're already ahead of the play here with perhaps a counter pick if that was to come through.
It's a nice bot lane duo. It's something we used to see way back when the Nautilus Kai'Sa. Nautilus just announced Kai'Sa to get the stacks building up nice and early. Good skirmishing, great amount of CC. So Illuminar just going to blind pick themselves the Sion here for the top lane. And do expect them to just target out the bans here in the top side, while MOUZ probably looking just to deny things that might be able to deal with this Nautilus. Now, I'm curious to see what the bans are from Illuminar. We've seen a bit of a rise in things like the Urgot, things that can actually deal with that Sion. So maybe that might get banned away. The Akali, though, is going to be targeted away from leader. We know he'll fall onto it. We know it's very strong at the moment, so it's an understandable ban from the side of Illuminar, who are, remember, the last chance really for the Ultra League for Poland, as the other two teams have been knocked out. We saw Kick and a Go Rogue get knocked out in the last 2 days. So this is really it for the Ultra League, and they need to find this win. They need to keep their hopes alive in the European Masters.
Yeah, they didn't have the best start to the day. Granted, they did play UCAM, which is now 5-0, so by far the best team here in the group. But you want to win today. You really want to get it out against MOUZ, who's really not been delivering to the name. And now as a 4th pick here, you don't have your mid laner yet. You can just counter pick the support and get that counter pick for your mid lane as well. So I gotta say, this red side is also panning out for Illuminar to be really nicely executed on if they just get a nice counter pick and a nice mid lane counter pick afterwards. And that's something that's crucial, is specifically against MOUZ, because you will be forcing leader out on a champion where he does not get the counter pick. And crucially so, there is still a lot of champions you can pick into the sign as well. We've seen the likes of Darius be a thing in the, the other leagues, such as LFL has really made it proficient with Adam, of course, but it is actually just going to be the Sett instead, so they are handshaking there. And I kind of like it for MOUZ, because then you kind of show where your priority for the lanes are going to be. This means that you will be putting Kai'Sa as the winning lane, Sett is going to be operating as a weak side, and you can play for Gadget instead. And that's what we need for MOUZ here. We need them to have a clear win condition that they can play for, specifically in the late game, where they end up in so often.
And technically, they could actually flex that Sylas and the Sett between mid and top side. So there was a bit of movability there. I think with a Zoe lock-in, it's most likely that we will see leader piloting the Sylas. We know it's a champion, but he likes to play as well. So that is going to be the final rotations. Now that everything is locked in, Gulborg, I want to kind of talk a little bit about what you like about these comps, what you dislike, what you're expecting to see from both of these teams in the early game.
I actually really like the tools MOUZ has to deal with the composition of Illuminar here. Sett from the start of in the top side is a champion that benefits really nicely if you can ultimate a tank into the backline. You also have the Sylas, who can be able to steal the Alistar ultimate, and we see how annoying that can be to play against so many times. You have your late game win condition in the Kai'Sa that you can play for, and you have the early game in the Udyr as a jungler. It is kind of the same picture for Illuminar, but I'd say they do it less proficient. You have that front line in the sign that is your engage. You have the Lillia that can walk in and out and get some sleeps and set up nice combos where you have the double sleep essentially with the Zoe. So there are some tools where you can create some cheeky combos, and then Tristana is your late game team composition. So it is still going to come down to the execution that we'll be seeing here, because there is still a lot of engage that you have for Illuminar. If they start snowballing, it can be rough to MOUZ to start to come back, and that is something that we've said a lot about MOUZ as well, is that they don't snowball themselves very often. They don't go into that 15-minute mark with a gold lead. They are in the negatives. So this time around, for MOUZ to succeed with a late game win condition, you need to stay ahead of the curve, or at least just go even. That would do wonders for your team composition.
Well, we're on to the Rift for our 4th game of the day. Remember, we are in Group C right now. We're trying to figure out who's going to be making it out of the group. So far, we do have UCAM from the Superliga over in Spain, who have guaranteed themselves first place. Nobody else can catch up to them. It is now just a battle of seeding, a battle of that second place out. If MOUZ lose here, that is it. That is them donezo. They're not going to be able to make it out. And Mashko are going to have an amazing run to be able to catch up as well after this. So.
And to kind of put some context into that, it's crazy that MOUZ is even at this stage when the Prime League was still going. They were winning the regular season. They ended up in the winner's bracket and just put them straight in the finals. And everyone expected MOUZ to take it. They had just beaten out Big 2-0 or 2-1. So they for sure look like the strongest contender coming into that. But in the playoffs, or in the finals rather, they just got 3-1 by Big. And ever since then, it seems like they really haven't been able to find their footing in this EU Masters either. It seems like something's been cracked on this MOUZ. And we said it ourselves, we thought C was going to be a huge group as well with a lot of competition to come in. But no, UCAM just ended up 5-0ing and seeing MOUZ at 1-4 once again. It's crazy that we've even come to this point.
And even though Illuminar lost their first game of the day versus UCAM, one of the big criticisms I had was I just wasn't impressed with Illuminar's playstyle as of late, and it felt like they were maybe a little bit too passive, giving up a little bit too much. But that UCAM game honestly shifted my mentality a little bit on Illuminar, and they definitely seem to be, a lot more switched on than they were in week 1. So I do worry that this is going to be a pretty rough game here for MOUZ, but they are starting out with some action here.
And here we kind of see
get a bit of damage.
Here we kind of see the Kai'Sa into the Tristana. What you want to do in this matchup as Kai'Sa, you want to be able to get as much priority as you can from level 1, force them away. And then essentially, when you get to the third wave, that's when you want to crash. And reason for that is because you want to start a slow push towards yourself so you can be laning in full safety. So the Tristana essentially will not have the power to abuse you as efficiently as she would if you were just in the middle of the lane when she hit level 3. So this is really nice for MOUZ in the beginning. You can see they're already trying to push down this third wave here as well. And when that crash is going to be coming through, well, that is when you're going to start seeing them play a bit more passive from the Kai'Sa lane.
Satorius has been very aggressive in this lane versus Melonik, just stepping up, trading and pushing in a fairly large wave into his face at the moment. Melonik on the side should be able to catch that and handle this wave for himself, no problem. As Pridestalkr is now finishing up his initial jungle clear. The crab will be spawning up, and he actually is on the same side of the map as papatabachi, so there might be a bit of a contest for the crab. And papatabachi has to be a little careful because bot lane shoving in favor of MOUZ. So if he heads down to that one, there is a chance that that's already been stripped away. It looks like they're just continuing to keep the pressure up, though. Pridestalkr will be spotted out by this ward, and that's just going to be the end of the clear for Pridestalkr, as there's no jungle for him to take.
I just think this is the correct choice. Sett had full priority in the mid lane. It's way easier for Leader to move, and Leader...
Good bubble, actually, by Czajek, able to stop Pridestalkr from jumping forwards. And the crab has been spotted out by MOUZ's bot lane, so papatabachi being denied the double crab here to start off, and really not what he needed. Pridestalkr will accelerate this jungle farm up as he doesn't have to reset. He's got the health, he's got the mana, and all his camps are respawning, so he can just do another full clear before resetting. And
this is exactly what we wanted to see from MOUZ. The fact that you could get a level lead on your jungler means in turn that he can start playing for your lanes, and that both means that when objectives are going to be starting, like the Drake...
Oh, hello! Headbutt Pulve comes in as Gadget's forced to flash away. The Ignite is on. He gets stunned. He gets ignited, but it's not going to be enough to find the kill. The teleport's been fired out as well as Czypsy running away, but Leader slides in and with a Kingslayer secures first blood.
And for once, an early game is going really well from the side of MOUZ here. Leader being very selfless, even teleporting down there just to make sure that the first blood will go over to their side, and he is rewarded with the first blood himself. Czajek not feeling too confident TPing in there, and that does net him a small level advantage as he was able to push in the entire mid wave and can back without having to use the TP. But here we see the play again. It is the level 3 spike for Tristana. It is where she starts becoming really scary, but take a look at that exhaust from Enjawve. That bomb was completely nullified from the side of that Nautilus there, and that just means that they're able to come on top on that play with a first blood themselves without losing anything.
Lovely little turnaround. Leader did obviously burn that teleport, but for first blood, I think he'll be okay to do that little trade. Czajek will be able to shove in this mid wave, and Leader Will eat a bubble, but not really going to get tower dove by level 5 Zoe. Papatabachi maybe looking for something onto Satorius here. Melonik out of mana, pretty low on health, but papatabachi able to slow him down for the moment as he gets himself the face breaker. The outplay by Satorius! 1 versus 2 finds the kill, now been run down by the zombie Sion. And the burn from papatabachi not going to be enough to kill him, and Satorius gets out alive. Now here in the mid lane, the Drowsy connects onto the Nautilus. That is one sleepy scuba diver as Enjawve is taken out by Czajek. One last little bit of more glitter. He's going to find the kill, but now Pridestalkr is coming in. The action is just non-stop right now. They bop him back with a headbutt. He's got that pulverize if he needs to use it for the knock-up into 2 members, and Leader finds himself his 2nd kill. It's Czajek trying to see if he can find a bit of an outplay. It's just going to be a little bit of damage from the bubble.
A bloodbath in this early game for sure. We start out in the top lane with Satorius being able to pull up a nice outplay here, and he's very calm and collected in this situation. You can already see papatabachi and Melonik. There's not a lot of mana for them to be working with, and Melonik just a bit too careful with that flash there. He's waiting too long, and it ends up costing him. And in this situation, well, papatabachi, he's out of mana. You can see on the minimap, Pridestalkr is moving up. I have really no clue what Enjawve is doing here. It seems like he's trying to freeze the wave from the side of Leader, but you're in no position to do so. You have no idea what the Alistar is, and it's just an easy pickup. But you speed this up, and you have no vision in the entire topside river, so they don't even know Pride is coming down. Czypsy here, still no flash from the early exchange, and it's an easy pickup. I still think they maybe perhaps could have gone for this one, or at least forced a flash here from Czajek. Leader did have flash, but they'll end up trying for another situation. And Leader,
yeah, he's very, very low. Steals away the portal jump, but he's able to survive this for the moment. As there's just non-stop action. This game is not slowing down as Udyr jumps into Gadget. Gadget's going to get popped, and the resets are there for Udyr. He can continue the chase. This Pridestalkr is exhaust. Flashes away from the rocket jump slow, but with Czajek coming in that paddle star, Pridestalkr, even if he's able to dodge one ability, won't be able to survive this one. Czajek able to find himself a turn around kill. There's Illuminar equalize out on the kill score. They are still down in gold, however. Well, that first dragon not been taken by anybody. Curious to see if we're going to see any more action break out.
and this is crazy. We've talked a bit about MOUZ now, Hipbrain, but let's take it over to Illuminar. The Ultra Leaguers stylistically aren't really proactive in the early game. They've been teams where they like to just scale, do nothing, and then just get to the late game and start pulling out crazy team fight. But this time around, they're not having none of that. They are in for the action, and MOUZ, quite frankly, they're opening that with welcome arms. But it's just not paying off for them right here, and this is more priority going over to the side of Illuminar. And we've been talking a bit about aggression off-cast as well, Hipbrain. We've been talking about how we see it as when you go to these late-game teamfights, when that's what you rely on, you lose out on a lot of the early-game priority that you get in this meta that's so much about these junglers. So it's nice to see these two teams start picking up the pace and be aggressive from the get-go, trying to take what they can on the map. And now, Rift Owl has gone over to Pridestalkr, which in turns mean he can start accelerating some of his lanes. You can try and go for the top side where the turret is almost down to 3 plates. You can try and put it into lead to give him an even more advantage, or you can try and put them into your late game basket in the Kai'Sa. There's loads of opportunities for you to create plays with this Rift Owl.
So the real question is where do you think they're going to use it? There's a good argument for every lane, but which lane do you think is probably the optimal shout?
So I always think that it would be nice if you could give it to Kai'Sa, but I think it's too problematic to get down there and get priority. I think the easiest lane to go for to just secure a turret would be trying to, as a duo, Leader and Pridestalkr, get the priority in the mid lane, move it up towards that top side, force Melonik away, and then just get a free turret. But you could do that as a cross map. You could also try and contest this straight that it looks like Illuminar is posturing to take, or at least starting to set up some vision for, and papatabachi trying to get in here, see if he can spot out Pridestalkr. Doesn't see him, and with that, Drake has been started and immediately disengaged. So no plays to be had here. They're slowing it down a bit from the side of MOUZ and Illuminar, but as I say that... this action just will never stop as Pridestalkr is making his way over the flash out by Czypsy. Udyr actually pops the ultimate as well. Pridestalkr maybe a little bit too slow, a little bit too indecisive to jump in, but they have now afforded themselves some space in this bot lane, and let's say they might agree with you that even though it might not be the most optimal one to place this Rift Herald down in, bot lane might be the best shout. For now, though, it looks like the Dragon is going to be where the attention goes for MOUZ.
This Drake's going to get started up. The charge has been thrown down by Melonik just to get towards the top side of the map, so he will not be coming in close.
Yeah, and as you say, that recalls are coming through, but Illuminar, they are not planning to recall.
Going to jump in, Pridestalkr, going to get put to sleep. The Drowsies are connecting on everybody right now, and that Gadget already lost his life. Dragon has been secured by MOUZ. Leader misses out of the amp, on the amp up, but he jumps into Shifty's face with the Kingslayer, and they get themselves a great route off the Tristana. Udyr, though, able to rocket jump over the wall. It's a kill for a kill, a support for an AD carry, but MOUZ ultimately do walk away with this Dragon.
Yeah, they walk away with the Dragon. They're not looking for anything more. Papatabachi or Pridestalkr rather could have had an opportunity to force some gold into Leader down towards that bot side, but they want to keep the tempo alive. They want to get out of the map as fast as possible, clear their camps, and set up elsewhere. And now, I think it's a bit greedy that you start chasing these or starting these recalls so early. If you just force the Drake down immediately while you have the prio, well, then you can just get out of there. But now, Gadget does have to pay with his life for that one. You do get the Drake, and you do get a nice kill over to Leader. And in the end, it is still going to be worth it for MOUZ. They get the kills, and they get the Drake.
Easy as that. The teleport's getting used by Leader, and that Rift Herald has still not being used. It does look like Pridestalkr is pathing upwards. He only got a quarter left on his timer for that one, though, as Drowsy is going to connect on to Leader, and Czajek's going to do a fair amount of damage. The Leader actually just popped himself the ultimate. Oh, that's a serious amount of damage. Czajek maybe regretting fighting that one, as the Rift Herald will get shot out here into the top lane, and Melonik and papatabachi are going to try and do their best to defend, but they do have that demolished stack, and this should just be the tower going down. It's very, very low, but it is able to survive as Pridestalkr jumps in forward. There's the slam down underneath the tower. The tower has been picked up, and Satorius jumping into multiple members. A big shield coming out from the face break as he flashes forward and finds himself the kill as Leader slides in as well. That's 2 for nothing in favor of MOUZ, and they get the first turret blood.
And this is exactly what I talked about earlier. Leader gets the priority in the mid lane, starts moving up towards the top side where the Rift Herald play has already been engaged. So while it does come down to a close fight, as we see up here, it's still going to be Leader's move. You can already see him on the minimap. Herald has been spawned, he's moving up. Is the dive clean? No, you should have hit the turret one more time before going for it. But in turn, you can say it kind of helped the Sett passive a bit, maybe? No. Probably not, but they do still get the kill in the end. They get the turret, they get the extra minion wave, and they get the extra pressure on the map now being opened up.
As we return back into normal time, we've still got 2 minutes until that Dragon comes up, 2:30 anyway. So a little bit until we see the team start to posture around that area. Czajek just going to continue to try and get some plates, but it might be a little dangerous for him. He does have a bubble. He's going to miss it, and that might just spell his demise. Pridestalkr is doing some serious damage to the Zoe. Czajek able to survive. That Phoenix stance burn. Full tank, by the way.
Yeah, he did just finish off that chem tank, so obviously he deserves to almost just kill the mid laner all by himself there. Leader as well is starting to become a very scary champion out on this Rift. He has finished up that Everfrost, 8 stacks onto the Dark Seal as well, so he's looking to keep the snowball going. And speaking of that, with top lane being opened, with the priority we're having up where with Enjawve making his way up here, they could be looking for more kills.
And that is just an easy kill as Enjawve gets himself kill on to papatabachi. We talked about how the jungle, we talked about how the Dragon's coming up, and losing your jungler is still a minute, so he'll respawn in time, but it can afford them a bit of space to get some control of the surrounding area. But for the moment, it looks like MOUZ are actually that interested in this coming up Dragon. They're interested in finding the kill, but they're going to put a couple of minutes to sleep as Leader able to jump away the Abscon and abduct, and now it is Enjawve who loses his life. So now it's Illuminar's turn to gain some control over this river.
I'm not really sure about the thought process there. I think it's a bit disrespectful now knowing that Czajek does have that flash, but initially I like the move up from MOUZ here. You get that man advantage where you can actually just take over the jungle, and this is what the pressure that MOUZ have been given or gained in the early game has given them now. And now, yeah, Enjawve, there's no minion wave. You don't have too many too much knowledge of where the rest of the map is from Illuminar. So I think that one is a bit interesting. Let's just put it at that. But I like what they did from the beginning, and they are in a position where they're going to be able to keep up this pressure. Satorius, he's always going to have priority against Melonik. He does have a TP advantage right now. So that means if Illuminar Gaming, they decide to start up this next dragon that's going to be up here in a short 1 minute, well, then they will have a man advantage once again because they can just TP first, or else Melonik will just have to lose a lot of waves while going down to Drake. So there's just a lot on the map right now going really well from the side of MOUZ. Always showing pressure at the mid lane. So it's up to Illuminar right now to find a way back into the game. And you do still have some pick potential. You have a Tristana just finished up the Kraken Slayer, and you have the Everfrost for Zoe now. So if you want to look for some cheeky fights, now might be the time around your backline carries.
Well, as the dragon spawns, the Rift Herald is summoned to gain instant priority in the mid lane. And that is buying some space to MOUZ, for MOUZ to be able to clear out this vision, although Satorius is on top of a ward. Paces that pink down. Second dragon picked up for MOUZ. Illuminar really can't do too much about that. They may just try and answer out as they've got the inside track on the mid lane turret, and Satorius, the only one around to defend, has to be careful of those bubbles, but is able to dodge away.
And once again, MOUZ just being in touch with this pressure they have from the early game. We've talked a lot about the MOUZ early game, and I want to reiterate on it again. They've not been doing well in the early game. The gold difference averagely for them at 15 was minus 1,200. So to see them go up against Illuminar here, who initially had their gold lead at 15 at 2,300, this is a massive boost for you, specifically because we've been talking about in the late game for MOUZ, they've usually been spending the most time trying to get back into the game. But this time around, they're actually ahead, and that is huge. Take a look onto leader, the 7k for him in the top side, a 2k advantage for Satorius against Melonik. And in the junglers, 1k up for Pridestalkr. So this is exactly what we've wanted for Illuminar, and for, or not for Illuminar, but for MOUZ. And for Illuminar, you're looking to try and calm it down a little bit. Hope you can play for this Tristana. Does have a small lead over the Kai'Sa. See if you can create some cross maps. So whenever they go for the next objective, specifically the next Herald, you might be able to create some chaos on the opposite side of the map.
Well, there's no more Heralds. They're all gone now.
Oh, really? That was two of them?
Yeah, it's been two now.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
The first one to get top lane, and they charged in the mid just for that dragon. But I'd actually have to have a quick look at the gold and see where we are between all of the individual members, because you've got a 4-0 Sylas, you've got a 2-0 Satorius, who had a bit of a scrap here with Melonik. Using that 2k gold lead and that 1 level lead, just to wail on him a little bit. And yeah, there is still a 300 gold lead. Okay, a 200 gold lead on the AD carries. But I mean, 200 gold lead onto OD, like, if that's your late game insurance policy, you're going to be worried by the fact that your mid lane is gapped by 800 gold. The top lane is gapped by 2,000 gold. It's a bit of a worry.
It's definitely not looking good, specifically because we talked about the compositions as well, and there's just so many tools in the arsenal of MOUZ that they will do well into you. You get the Alistar ultimate for the Sylas. Satorius is going to do really well against your frontliners. And Kai'Sa, while she's not a problem specifically now, you just leave her in touch like this for the next 10 to 15 minutes, she's going to end up being a huge problem as well. So you are a bit on a timer where you need to find your grasp of when are you feeling confident to take back the game. At some point in this game, you'll just have to realize as Illuminar, we are behind. There's not much we can do. But we'll need to know when our power specs are and when we're feeling confident to fight, no matter what. Because you're still going to be the strongest when you are at one point in the game as you can be. And that's just when you have to fight when you feel you are at that.
And this is a very important game for both of these teams, technically. If MOUZ win here, they then need Matchco to beat Illuminar. And then Matchco need to beat, well, it doesn't really matter on that front. But as long as Illuminar lose this game and then lose to Matchco in their next game, then there's a small room. There's a little bit of a window for MOUZ to look for tiebreakers. If Illuminar win here, they knock MOUZ out of the runnings. There's no way MOUZ will ever be able to catch up. And then all Illuminar have to worry about is losing to Matchco, and then Matchco beating UCAM, who are undefeated in the group. So it puts them in a really good place to potentially make second.
And that's the thing. They really need this victory. There's not much about it. And even if you get it, there's still a worry that Matchco now with their win can start trying to get back into this one. So this group in general, Jake, outside of UCAM, just got a bit more intense. Now with 1 minute onto this Drake, with Satorius almost having his TP back up. You can see they start to posturing around this mid lane for control. And it could be now where Illuminar feels like they need to go something while they know that Satorius is still topside, while they know he does not have that TP yet. And you can see they're desperately trying to get into the river, trying to get the control. But it's going to be tough now. Satorius is moving down, and we might just see a full-on 5v5 situation where if MOUZ wins this one, it could potentially be Baron afterwards.
Satorius now getting collapsed onto by a couple of members of Illuminar, though he's looking to potentially turn it around. Everybody's coming in, so they get the hook onto Czypsy. He's already popped the Unbreakable Wall. Leader comes in onto the side lane. Lands the outside, he gets knocked up, and he is just cut through like it's nothing, able to just about survive thanks to the Alistar ultimate. But Udyr, untouched, free firing away. Enjawve gets knocked up by Melonik. It looks like Illuminar are going to give up their chase for now. The Chilling Smite comes down. The teleports are coming in to rejoin into the action. Czypsy low HP, Udyr, the only real member with health. Same with Czajek, actually. He's also joined with his own teleporters. He's looking for Gadget, just about misses him. And that is the face breaker they needed. That is the pick they needed. The Alistar's down. Czajek has to flash over the wall, and the knockup is going to connect onto Udyr. Udyr's taken down by Pridestalkr. It's 2 for MOUZ already, and Illuminar are sent packing as they find a hook, and they're going to get themselves a tank as well. The front line is down. It's a double kill onto Pridestalkr. Melonik zombie not even going to be gifted with a kill for himself, and Baron is on the card.
And what a hilarious, interesting, long fight we get out of them there. We get to the point where both solo laners recalls and TPs beat back into the fray. And it's just as I said, if you win this fight as MOUZ, this should be the Baron going over to you. You can start the recalls, you can get the soul point as well, and you should start to look out closing these last turrets.
Double sleeps are coming down as the Everfrost to follow as well, as they do knock him up, and Leader is going to force Czajek to flash over the wall as he finds himself one already. The bubble gets dodged out, and Leader's not done. He's going to look for himself the second kill as Satorius takes it away. MOUZ just outplaying Illuminar every opportunity.
He started out with a feeder early in the day, but it looks like Leader is finally back on the Summoner's Rift here. Essentially, lone man army zoning papatabachi and Czajek away from the Baron, where they're able to clean it up here. And he does only get a sleep to 1, but it's apparently enough to pull out some massive damage and then just turn it back onto papatabachi with that insane healing. And Czypsy, no flash either. Just have to pay with this life. We get on the map here, and they have just picked up the Oceans or the Infernal Soul and have put them onto this soul point as well. So with this Baron buff, what we'd like to see from MOUZ is they push that bot lane in the mid lane, they keep instantaneous priority there, and they just start moving around the map with their rotations to take these tier 2 turrets. You have the Baron buff, you have all the tools you need right now, and it's only Illuminar Gaming to stall. They are no longer in control of this game.
It's so hard to stall though when you're down this far in gold, and when you're getting Stride Breaker and Slide back into 4 members of MOUZ. Melonik has got nowhere to go. His zombie form will get taken out before he can even clear away the minion wave. Cheeky kill for MOUZ, and they're going to take a tower with this as well. Leader just holding people in the mid lane, but Illuminar need to find some kind of an answer. I just don't know if they can.
And that's what's making it so hard. It's so textbook for MOUZ right now. You saw it. Priority in the mid lane, let's just dive bot. And you don't have to be here. You can go back to the same lane assignment. You can go back to the same setup. Leader is clearing up mid lane right now. When he's done with that, well, you can start to look towards the top side as well. It's just MOUZ being very proactive with their Baron buff right now. And they probably won't end with this Baron buff, but they'll be gaining so much priority that when you look towards the next Dragers, we get this really cool cinematic dunk of a Sion just getting absolutely annihilated by 4 people of MOUZ here.
As we get back into the action, MOUZ are taking out a turret as Enjawve finds himself a hook. The Lilting Lullaby going to land onto 2 members, one of which being the carry. Not going to find any way to get any additional damages, and the leader steals away Czypsy's ultimate. Locked up by an Everfrost for the moment, and MOUZ are running through the members of Illuminar. Czypsy goes in for the headbutt pole. He's just pulled back by the face breaker. That is 1 dead moo cow. As the MOUZ take down Illuminar's support, and they're looking to close this game out here. Melonik got that ultimate, but no flash available. Bubble not going to hit anybody for the moment as the slam comes down onto Satorius, and the leader able to jump in forwards with a great ulti. And papatabachi flashing away to safety, but Illuminar are just losing too many members. They might try and find a quick cheeky kill as Czajek able to take out another one. It's a double kill for Melonik underneath the towers as well, actually. Czajek, don't think you really want to flash forward there. He's just going to call it. But MOUZ somehow unable to close that game out, and Illuminar just about hold on to this game.
Yeah, and I think it was a bit optimistic from the side of MOUZ to be closing out the game there. They got a bit aggressive with the dive. They did get a nice pickup onto the AD carry, but it starts out with this siege of the bot lane turret, and they get a nice hook from Enjawve. And then the disengage is starting to come through, but they're still feeling themselves here from the side of MOUZ. They're feeling confident to go to this fight. And they're just cleaning out the front lines, going in for the back line afterwards. And it's just crazy. This Kai'Sa now, it has come active. Huge buster drop there, keeps the Sion alive as well, and that's probably needed for when you want to defend it. I think this is the point where you need to back up, though. This is where you get the bot lane inhibitor, you reset, and you go for the rest of the inhibitors you can go for. But they get 2 over Sylas. They initially get a really nice pick, though. Take a look onto Udyr, getting absolutely dumpstered immediately. But it's the Sonya's Hourglass from papatabachi that stalls out the game. It's the flash afterwards to make sure he does not go down. That essentially lets the rest of Illuminar pick up the members of MOUZ who's overstayed. So once again, a bit too optimistic, but the game is for sure still in MOUZ's favor. You can take a look at the gold right now, Hitbrain. It's 10k ahead for MOUZ, and they're not looking to slow down as we just witnessed.
There's only 2 turrets standing that aren't Nexus turrets, and that is top and mid tier 3s defending those inhibitors. Elder Drake not going to be up for a while, as it is the Soul coming up next in 1 minute's time. So I feel like MOUZ, as much as they do have a bit of a tempo lead right now, might just want to chill for the next minute and get this Soul. That pretty much confirms them a massive power spike over Illuminar. Not that 10,000 gold isn't a big power spike, right? But does give them just an extra tool to work with. For now, though, they're keeping the pressure up on the top side of the map, as they will be able to take that turret. If this jumps in with a headbutt pole, they haven't got Leader about yet, as the charge is going to connect, as Hook's coming in, Gadget free firing away, and now Leader joins into the fight with the Everfrost, and MOUZ are just running through the members of Illuminar. There is nowhere to go, as Udyr is out without a team and running to the win. Everybody will forward. Double kill picked up a Gadget. The zombie Sion taken down as well. And it was textbook by MOUZ. This is what we wanted to see from them all European Masters long, as they close out their final game of the group stage with a win, and crucially keeping their dreams of making second in the group alive. It's going to be hard, and it's out of their hands now, but there is still a very real chance.
But this is exactly what we need to see from them. This is what people think what MOUZ does when they hear the name MOUZ. They're like, oh, Leader's team, right? They just outplay them in the early game, and then they close out the games. This is what we finally saw from them. They were proactive in the early game. We had papatabachi not papatabachi, but you had Pridestalkr get double scuttle in the early game, level advantage ahead, created the plays with the pressure you got from the mid lane, taking out the top turrets, getting Satorius ahead, him being your insane frontliner for the mid game team fights. And when we came to this late game, you just had Gadget online. He was 2 and 3, but despite that, in that last team fight, he still had a 2k gold lead up on Udyr. And that's just the point we got to where MOUZ was out of control with that 10k gold lead.
Yeah, I feel like Leader definitely deserves some praise as
well.
For
sure.
Really, really good game from him. And you know, I've had criticisms of Leader this European Masters. I don't think he's had the greatest performance. We've seen him on things like Akali as well, like Champions that you'd think he's facilitated on. We've seen him on the Lucian earlier today, and it felt like in areas like it's just fallen short. I mean, they lost to the match go, which is a match that they really couldn't afford to lose. They did lose that one, but crucially finding this win does keep their dreams alive. Like I said, it is now out of their hands. It's actually in Matchco's hands, really, and Illuminar, depending on wins and losses of whether or not they have a hope of making a tiebreaker. And then at that point, they can potentially look to climb out. But it's going to be a rough one for the side of MOUZ. But for now, I think it's time for us to take a break. So head over the fridge, load up on some calories, and we'll see you after the break.